It is our sesquicentennial episode. Did I say that right, Ryan Cannon? Are you the right one? Thank you. Sesquicentennial episode. That is 125 for the uninitiated here at Barber Shop Podcast. The blast furnace of live original music is Hamilton, Ontario, and we tender that blast furnace. We try to do our very best every week to bring you some of the bright lights in the ambitious city of Hamilton, Ontario, located right in the heart of Canada. And if you're from outside of the area, Google it. Hamilton, Ontario, it is on fire. Boxo Studio is the place. We are in the shadow of Hamilton Mountain in what is become your source for your Wednesday inspirational testimonial. We have done everything we can to bring you the very best in music, and I have to thank, as I do every week, Ryan Cannon for running that rat rod rocket ship in there. I don't know how he does it, but here we are.
I think there's a ghost in here tonight.
There's a ghost in there tonight.
I see something behind me.
We're broadcasting live in high fidelity and high definition worldwide. And we've got Ryan Cannon and Gary Greenland and our special surprise guest, Alec Bromke, in the studio. The ghost of Alec Bromke in the studio. And Alec had to come this week because he said some time ago, he goes, "Have you had Doug Feaver on the show?" And I said, no, it's just I can never, I just bump into you. Well, you got to get Doug Feaver on the show. And I said, you're absolutely right. We have to get Doug Feaver on the show. I got a hold of him. He says, dude, that's so cool, but I'm in Jamaica for the next forever until you people get that seasonal thing straightened out. I will see you with boots on in the spring. And here we are in the merry month of April, and we have Doug Feaver in the house. And I want to tell you this about Doug Feaver. I have, through all my many incarnations and years doing this and that and not doing this and that in Hamilton and in music, Doug has been there. He has been inspirational, and certainly if you've seen him live, perspirational. Someone who gives a dollar's worth of performance in and out for any dime you pay. You get more than you bargain for with Doug Feaver. He's a songwriter, performer, and he's a beauty, and we have him in the studio tonight. Doug, how are you doing? Thank you for coming in.
Happy to be here, Kevin. This is good.
Yeah, happy to be here anywhere, right? Alive. Sometimes we get all wrapped up in what's not going right in the world, and we forget how lucky we are just to be in the world, right?
That's it, absolutely.
Life is what you make it, and with us in music, we often start out with, what's your life in music? And did you come by it honestly, or was it a hit and run? What was your kind of early recollection of music coming into your life? Because it was, like they say, is like you don't choose music, it kind of chooses you, right?
That's true. Let's see. My grandmother used to babysit me when I was 1.5 to 2 years old. And there was a show on the TV at that time about songs. It was named That Tune, and my grandmother loved the show. And she used to sit me down in my little rocking chair in front of and whenever that show was on, she said, I have to babysit tonight, because she was amazed that I knew the names of all the songs.
How old were you at that point?
1.5. 1.5, 2, and knew the names of every song before the contestants. My grandmother would just sit there and be amazed. I always loved music. I used to play, there are pictures of me when I was 1 year old, or actually less than that, 8, 9 months. And I had pots and pans all turned over on the kitchen floor, and I was hitting them with wooden spoons.
Right. And was that encouraged throughout the whole process, or was it?
No, they couldn't stop me.
Yeah. It was a done deal.
Nothing anybody did. I was just doing it. That was it. I'm doing it.
Well, those were also the early days of TV. I remember, like, distinctly my mother saying, like, when the TVs became affordable, that Dad could afford to buy one. It was The Great Babysitter, the glass nipple. I forget who quoted that one. But for you, music, was that the sort of same thing?
Oh, absolutely, completely. My dad was a big Dixieland fan. He had all these great Dixie records, the Dukes of Dixieland, Percy Fountain, and all these great guys. Not Percy Fountain. What am I saying? Percy Fountain. Pete Fountain.
Did your dad hate rock and roll?
No.
Because my dad did, but he loved Dixieland. I go, that's the rock and roll of jazz, man.
Yeah, my dad hated Elvis, which is okay with me, because I hated him too. But but when I heard, like, Bo Diddley, I went, oh. Yeah. And when I heard Chuck Berry, same thing. It was like, wow, I love it. And then when I heard the Beatles, it was like, oh, forget it. That's it.
And that was radio. This AM radio. This was before, like, these guys didn't make it to TV very often at that time. It was a real treat to see an Ed Sullivan show or someone who would feature someone you've heard on AM radio, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was Ed Sullivan show was too late for me to stay up, so I didn't get to see those first time around. It was, I was in bed. But, AM radio in Montreal where I was growing up then it was fabulous. And they always had the Beatle hour or something, right. And they'd just play all the album tracks. And I had great babysitters. I had two girls named Carol who would bring over all their Beatle records. And I was just like, that was it, I'm done. I'm sitting downstairs in front of the little stereo just playing over and over and over again, 45s and LPs, again and again and again and again. I just loved it.
Yeah.
And listening to the music go up and down. I didn't know what compressors were. I didn't know what a compressor was, but I knew, and I remember telling my grandmother, I was like 6, telling my grandmother, listen, Grandma, here the music goes up, and then it comes down when the vocal comes in, and it goes up, and it comes down. So I imagined for years somebody was actually physically being the compressor.
Yeah.
No, it was great.
You know what? There was a combination, certainly in the early days, where people would have to ride with very limited, like studio gear. They had to physically control that like they were landing an airplane of that similar era.
Yeah, it was all those twin-track recordings of the Beatles.
And they're priceless because people get wrapped up in the mechanics of music and forget that it's a spiritual kind of oral thing, and by the AURAL, yes, where it strikes. It's already hit you before you know,
mm-hmm.
right? And again, at 18 months or 2 years for you to be able to identify and pick up songs, clearly that is Grandma's kitchen. When you hear songs,
yeah, that radio was on top of the fridge, and it'd just be going all the time. I was like, oh.
What about you? When did you grab a guitar, and when did you start playing? And when you started playing, were you writing as soon as you started playing, or did that come later?
I was writing before I started playing. So I'd never had a guitar. I begged for one. I begged for two things. When I was 7, I wanted a trumpet and bagpipes and a guitar. Of course I wanted a guitar. But I wanted a trumpet and I wanted bagpipes.
You knew you were going to get a guitar when you asked for those other two things.
That was it, I want bagpipes.
That's a great ploy.
My grandfather said, well, you'll have to get your chanter. And I said, get me one. So
you got the bagpipes?
No, I didn't get the bagpipes.
I thought you were going to say you
so my dad handed me his ukulele and said, here, play that. So it was this little banjo uke, mm-hmm. which is like, ukulele is like the top 4 strings on a guitar. So I'd play that. So all this little... just on the 4 strings.
Right. And it kind of allows or promotes improvisation or creativity. An instrument like that.
It
right?
does, and it was fun, but it was like I had no instructions with it. It was just here's the ukulele, and here's how to tune it. My dog has fleas. Okay, thanks, Dad.
I'm off to the races.
But then I'm sitting there trying to play along with Beatle records and going, well, wait, what's he doing there? I don't know that one. When I was 12, we were up at my grandmother's cottage, and my cousin Susan showed up. And she was taking the obligatory guitar lessons that she hated, and I'd been begging for them for years. Yeah. Thankfully, we had a piano, and I was doing piano lessons by that time. But she showed up at the college, and I'm like, a guitar? Can I look at it? Can I touch it? And she's like, yeah, sure. It was this little Stella. Yeah. I picked it up and went, and there was a book under it, the Mel Bay, How to Play the Guitar book. I'm like, I ran out to we had this little sort of porch on the cottage. I ran out there and closed the door behind me and opened the book and went, C. Ring, ring. I was out there for hours, couldn't take it away from me. And then actually my cousin, she didn't see that guitar for 2 years.
Yeah, she didn't have a problem when she left. She probably thought, she had no idea what she was investing in. No. Someone was going to provide that first guitar, but it was so good that it went from a home to a home that it was truly loved. And you probably had that Stella for a long time, didn't you?
I had it for 2 years at least. Yeah. And then before I got my first guitar, and then...
because there's still a school out saying when a kid's going to play, you want to set them up because it's hard. So you have to get them in like $1,000 guitar because their fingers are going to hurt. And then you say, the greatest music comes from sharecroppers and people who made their own strings out of fence wire and
made
things.
Banjos out of cigar boxes.
And so a little pain goes a long way because it shows how dedicated you are.
Oh, I'd play that thing. My fingers were so sore, and I'd stop and I'd ask Susan. I said, "Look, how long are they going to be sore?" And she said, "Oh, they'll go away in a while." And she had some idea about soaking my fingers in salt water. So I thought, I'll try that, because I couldn't wait to get back. I want to pick it up. And I'm like, oh. And I remember picking up the guitar after an hour or two and going, the pain, and then just going, I don't care. Ding, 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 ding. And I'd play until I just couldn't play.
Play through the pain.
I'd wait all night, sleeping, lying there thinking about, what chord am I going to learn tomorrow? You know. Oh, I just loved it.
And so when you started playing, were you gravitating towards, like, I want a bunch of people who get what I get and let's play together? Or were you always saying, I don't know if anyone's going to get what I do. I'm going to play as like an entity. I'm going to write as an entity and kind of go from that circle.
I just wanted to hear everything come out of my guitar. I wanted to hear drums, bass, lead, rhythm, all come out of my guitar. So that's how I played a lot when I was first starting out. It'd be big chords, trying to find big open things to do, and where I could really let things ring. And I was really pounding. I used to use the heaviest gauge strings I could find and just pound the hell out of it.
You certainly have a reputation. I know that if you put all of Doug Feaver's used guitar strings in a pit, it would probably be the size of one of the Super Bowl stadiums. You've got a lot of weight of metal because you go through them. Honestly, you put a new set of strings on, I think, every time you play, and it's out of necessity.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's just, yeah. I remember playing down, I break a lot of strings, and playing down at Port Dover one time years ago, but I had two guitars, both of which had a new set of strings on to begin in the night. And over 3 nights, not including the new ones I put on, just broken strings, we kept track. And it was really hot and really humid, which are ideal conditions for me to be breaking strings. 52 broken strings in 3 nights. It was absolute madness.
Ryan, can you get on? Can you get someone checking some Guinness Book of World Record facts? Can we see if broken guitar strings, 48-hour period? I think we have a record.
I'll get on it.
We'll get on it. Well, we're going to get on a little bit of Doug Feaver. He's going to kick off evening doing some live music after we give a shout out to one of our longest and greatest supporters, and that's HamiltonArtist.ca. They are printers. They don't just print stuff. They print anything on anything. If you are an artist, a creative person, you're going to want a hat, a t-shirt, a mouse pad. You're going to want a button, a sticker. You're going to want something that has your name, your message on it, and HamiltonArtist.ca are the people that you're going to want to have do it. They're at 1141 Main Street East at Balmoral, just east of the Delta. If you're one of our Eastie, Central, Hamiltonianites, you know where that is, the Great Delta, where King becomes Maine and Maine becomes King. And if you're from out of town, that's where we get you each and every time. They print anything on anything. They do custom orders. You can set up your own account with them online at hamiltonartist.ca. They've got an online store, or you can go in and see what they do there. They do custom work. If you want to put together some wicked Graham Parsons outfit, they'll do that for you too. I am serious. Yeah, nothing is too big, nothing is too scary. And if they can't do it, they'll tell you where to get it and the best place to get it. Those are the people you want to work with. hamiltonartist.ca. They are supporters of ours. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I want to have one of those. We were gonna try to make, me and Ryan were gonna have a band called Big Mofo, Moefaux, right? And everyone had to be over 270 pounds in the band. And they were thinking we can get some of those one-piece garage mechanic suits and somehow tailor those with a bedazzling kit. then we thought maybe no, people weren't ready for that yet. But what they are ready for is Doug Feaver. Doug Feaver has got some of his great recorded songs in here. He's got some original music, some of it you may or may not have heard before. It's a pleasure to have him in here. You're going to get a taste of something incredible. Right here is Doug Feaver, barbershoppodcast.com.
Should I play a song? I shall play a song. Should I tell you about the song, or we'll talk after? Okay, we'll talk after. I'll just play it. I wrote this last December, so it mentions Christmas. It doesn't have to be Christmas to hear it. I don't think it's historical, isn't it? Okay. My great-grandpa, he came from Wales, settled right here in Hamilton. Hamilton. Got himself a job delivering the mail. Took a little pause for World War I. 4 long years in a bloody trench, sitting and reading those letters from home, standing up to shoot from an old wood bench, and getting back down to see who was gone. Pictures of his wife and his 2 young sons reminded him what he was living for. Got him through years of cannons and guns, but his hearing wasn't any good anymore. Armistice came, it was finally done. Barney was heading home to stay, and back on the job in Hamilton, he delivered the mail on Christmas Day. He delivered the mail. He delivered the mail. He delivered the mail on Christmas Day. He delivered the mail. He delivered the mail. He delivered the mail on Christmas Day. 20 years later, when war returned, Barney Evans was an old mailman, but his son Richard, he took his turn, putting on the uniform of this land. Barney kept delivering door to door, cards from soldiers overseas. He'd been over there not long before, and it could still bring him to his knees. Barney was a kind and friendly man. People saw the postman as their friend. At every home he drank another dram. He was pissed as a pony by his roots end. His grandchildren, they went to search. They found him leaning on a lamppost singing away. Before the family went to church, he delivered the mail on Christmas Day. He delivered the mail. He delivered the mail. He delivered the mail on Christmas Day. He delivered the mail. He delivered the mail. He delivered the mail on Christmas Day. He delivered the mail. He delivered the mail. He delivered the mail on Christmas Day.
Complete performance at Absolute Professional. That's Doug Feaver at Barber Shop Podcast. A true story made into a true song. Something that's been immortalized forever. That is now on the internet forever.
It
a
is.
Great thing. So
my great-grandfather and my great-grandma, my great-grandpa, I knew her. I didn't know him. He died before I was born, but they came here from Wales just before World War I. And so he got here and got himself the job at the post office, and then went overseas with the Canadian Expeditionary Force and spent 4 years in France and Belgium, and made it home. And my mother, I wrote this song last year, and I went to play it. I played it for my mom, who is actually in a nursing home now and not doing all that great. But I played her the song, and she went, and she woke right up and told me an amazing story. two amazing stories about him. One was that my great-grandpa had been delivering the mail Christmas Eve, and everybody loved him, and they would give him drinks. They'd bring him in and give him a drink. Well, halfway through his route, he was half in the bag, and so was half the mail, and he couldn't finish it. So he brought the mail home, and he got up Christmas morning early, and he went out and finished his route Christmas morning. But people were still giving him drinks. Yeah. So my mother and my uncle were waiting for him, waiting for Grandpa to come over for Christmas. And they're like waiting and waiting, come on, you know, like the way kids are, you know, waiting for the opening the presents, and where's Grandpa? So they put on their coats and their hats and their mittens, and they ran out, going backwards on his route, and they found him just a couple of blocks away, pissed as a fart, leaning on a lamppost, singing in Welsh. And he was a baritone, or a bass actually, and sitting in a bag of mail empty. He was absolutely pissed and just singing as the snow was coming down. And my mom told me about she and my uncle took him by the hand and brought him home, and they opened the presents, and then they went to church.
That's fantastic.
But there was another really cool story, and I was amazed to hear this, because I'm glad, because nobody else knows it now. And some years, between the wars at some point, my great-grandpa he used to deliver mail to this family who were well-to-do, and eventually ended up running or managing the Royal Connaught Hotel. But he would see them every morning. The time of morning he would get to their place, they were sort of padding around in housecoats and slippers and having coffee, and the dog barked, and he loved the dog, my great-grandpa, and the dog loved him. So he'd get there and the dog would bark, and they'd open the door, they'd bring him in for a coffee, maybe put a little shot in it, you know, and that's what they would do every day. And he got there one day, and nothing happened. The dog didn't bark. There was nobody walking around the kitchen, and he thought, there's something wrong. So he broke into the house. However, I don't know. And as soon as he got in, he could smell the gas. And he ran around the house and found them all passed out, and including the dog. And he dragged the whole family, one by one, out onto the front lawn of the house, including the dog.
And this was a fairly common occurrence at the time.
It would have been, yeah. Gas brackets in the hallway for the lights and everything. And he dragged the whole family and the dog outside, and they all survived, which is so pretty amazing. Yeah. Years and years later, he died before I was born. Many years later, his youngest, he had two sons, my grandfather and my great-uncle. My great-uncle died, and he had ALS. He was living in California at the time. They flew him home. He's buried out York Street. But they had a big memorial at the Royal Connaught. And my great-grandmother gave my mother a check and said to go down and pay for it. They'd rented this big room and had it catered and everything. So my mother went down to the office of the Royal Connaught and said, here's the check from my grandmother to pay for the room. And the man said, was everything to your satisfaction? And she said, oh, yes. How was the food? Oh, it was lovely. Do you like the decorations? Yes, it was beautiful. How was the service? Fabulous. The girls were just wonderful. It was wonderful. He said, terrific. He said, I'm really, we're honored that you came here to have this memorial for Mr. Evans at the Royal Connaught. And he tore up the check. Yeah. And she said, what are you doing that for? And he said, Mr. Evans's father, your grandfather, saved me and my whole family back in the 40s. Yeah. And my mom was like, what? So, yeah.
It's wonderful that you've been able to kind of grab that and realize what a jewel that is. Yeah. And that needs to be set in a ring, and you need to do that. You know, they're great stories abound. It's one of the great things that attract me to music. You can put it together, and you can have a recording. In this case, it's a podcast. We've got some recordings of Doug's we're going to play, and we're going to ask him a little bit about it before we launch into it. The first one I struggled with it with the name because it wasn't in English, and it was not monosyllabic. So this one, Trinkus Lamorettes.
Trank.
Trank.
Trank Lamourette.
Trunk.
Trank is it's French, obviously.
Trinqueus.
Yep.
Trank.
So that's plural, but of trank is when you take two glasses and you go clink. Okay. And you say cheers. And Trank Lamourette, l'amour is love. Lamourette is little love. Yeah. Sort of. It's an old Quebec folk song. It actually came from Brittany originally, but it's about sort of childhood remembrances of, you know, the butcher shop and the bakery and and soldiers coming into town, and
there's
a
a lot
girl
of
he wanted to dance with.
a lot of imagery and flavor in the music. I imagine.
It's like Transpire, nous serons danser, we can dance.
We can dance. This is beautiful. It's Doug Feaver, and it's at barbershoppodcast.com. How long?
J'ai boulanger, autour avec la marette, nous allons danser. Dans mon chemin, j'ai rencontré, autour avec la marette, nous allons danser. Faut cabrier, faut bien monter, son petit Louis, son joli gabarit. Riglutant, rette marron, avec la marette, marron, rette, nous allons danser, marron, avec la marette, marron, rette, nous allons danser, marron, si c'est un petit dum da, un petit dum da, un petit dum da, si c'est un petit dum da, un petit deux sont de cheval et l'autre à pied, autour avec la morette, nous allons danser. Quelques pays m'a demandé, autour avec la morette, nous allons danser. Où irons-nous ce soir coucher, son petit Louis, son joli gabarit. Riglutant, rette marron, avec la morette, marron, nous allons danser, marron, avec la morette, marron, nous allons danser, marron, si c'est un petit dum da, un petit dum da, un petit dum da, si c'est un petit dum da, un petit dum da, un petit dum da. À la maison d'accoutumée, autour avec la morette, nous allons danser. Nous coucherons dans le poulailler, autour avec la morette, nous allons danser. Les coqs, les poules vont chez son toé, son petit Louis, son joli gabarit. Arrive le temps, rette marron, avec la morette, marron, nous allons danser, marron, avec la morette, marron, nous allons danser, marron,
Smooth like silk at Barbershop Podcast each and every week. We've got live music. We have got some beautiful original recorded music. This is all available. Can people get a hold of you? Where can they get you on the interweb? And we will have all of Doug's links where you can get a hold of him on our page at barbershoppodcast.com. But for the people who are interested right now, what's your URL?
That would be, now that is actually from the first album I did with, I have a Celtic band called Scantily Plaid. Get it right.
Scantily Plaid. And they are really, really good. And we'll talk about all the different things that you do. I am thrilled with every single little thing you do. But with Scantily Plaid, tell me about the impetus of Scantily Plaid.
Well, it started back in the about 99. I think some friends of mine were in the pit band for the Scottish Dance Company of Canada. And they'd kind of exhausted the budget. They had a whistle player, a bagpiper, a keyboard player, a fiddler, a harpist. And they thought they needed guitar and they needed drums and they could use another vocal or even a harmonica or something. So somebody suggested me because they said, oh, Doug plays guitar and harmonica, we'll get him. And then somebody else said, well, we need a drummer. And then somebody else said, oh yeah, Doug plays drums. And the other ones went, well, no, he doesn't, he's a guitar player. And he said, no, he plays drums, of which I do. My first band, I was on the road 6 nights a week for 3 years almost, playing drums and harmonica and singing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I ended up getting in with those guys, and it was so great. We practiced for 6 or 7 weeks and did 3 shows at Hamilton Place and National Arts Center in Ottawa. And it was a really great thing. And actually, they had done the National Arts Center just before I joined it, so I missed that one. But the Hamilton Place shows were fab. Yeah. And when it was all done, it was like, wow, is that it?
A bit of a whirlwind.
So can we keep going? So we did. We carried on with the fiddler and the keyboard player for a bit. Then the keyboard player couldn't do it. And then the fiddle player couldn't do it. So we ended up down to the harpist, the bagpiper, and myself. And thought, yeah, I think we can make a go of this. So we did, and we've been playing all around the world ever since.
So remember, Scantily Plaid, if you're looking for something that's going to, how do I put it? It puts smiles on faces, it lifts some pints, it lifts some spirits. That's the kind of music that people like to have in their common in their comfortable place.
It's fun. It's been a lot of a sort of classical folk bagpipe sort of. I mean,
and being a kind of, would you describe yourself as a Acadian nature, even though you grew up in French? My dad grew up in New Brunswick, but in the very, very most western part of New Brunswick. It was literally one toe in Quebec.
Right.
So he grew up with an Irish father and a Scottish mother, but speaking French, and that's all his kids did. I imagine you were a similar situation growing up?
Well, I was born in Hamilton, and then we moved to Montreal and lived there for a while, and then back to Grimsby, actually. But I was surrounded by people who spoke Welsh and English, and in Montreal, French. Half my friends were French. So, I got my French there, but and on the road with the band. But there were always like my cousin played harp, and my great grandmother was a paid soloist here in Hamilton for 40 years. A singer, as a soprano.
Which is not an easy gig. You have to be pretty good to be a paid musician for 40 years.
She was paid. She never had a lesson in her life, never smoked, almost never drank. Self-taught from North Wales, spoke English as a second language. So did my great-grandfather. He was the mailman. Bernard Evans and Margaret Caroline Evans, and they'd sit around the living room talking like this, you see. My uncle Idris and aunt, all the aunts and uncles, speaking Welsh and singing in Welsh. And it was fabulous. It was great. And then when we moved to Quebec, and I'll never forget going to the Brome County Fair and hearing that music like Trank Lamourette, like that last song. It was like 3 guys on a plywood riser with no PA system under the hot sun in the middle of the Midway, and it was absolutely amazing. It was just rock and roll to me. Yeah, it was.
It inspires me to this day. When I pick a mandolin, everything kind of sounds like that. It just flows out of you when you feel it. I'm going to get you to play some more live music, because that's kind of what we do here. You're going to be sitting and standing for this one.
I think I'll sit. I'll do one here. We're talking about this French-Canadian kind of stuff, which I love. Well, I'll do something like that. When I was 6, we moved to Quebec, and we always used to go to the Beamsville Fair. So obviously we weren't going to be going to the Beamsville Fair when we lived in Montreal, but we went to the Brome County Fair, and I remember walking around and I heard music and I was gone. They couldn't find me for an hour or two, but it was an amazing day. I remember walking toward the music, and like I say, it was 3 men on a plywood riser, and there was a guy playing fiddle. He was sitting on a high stool and doing the kicking and playing the fiddle, and there was a man playing a concertina, and another man playing an acoustic guitar. No PA. And no vocals that I recall, just playing these songs. And in front of the stage, about 10 or 15 feet in front of the stage, was a tripod with a huge cast iron pot over a fire. It was full of water and corn, and it was bubbling. And this lady turned to me and said something to me in French, and I just said, "Oui, si vous plaît, madame." And she pulled a cob of corn out, put it on a serviette, and covered it with butter, and then she did something I'd never seen. She sprinkled on salt, which I had seen, but she did something I'd never seen before, which she sprinkled on pepper. Pepper, yeah. And she turned around and handed me this, and I just remember saying, "Merci beaucoup, madame." And I was munching in this corn, looking past this cauldron and listening to these men play. And that's when I got the hand on the shoulder. "Where have you been?" It's my dad. "We've been looking all over for you." "But Dad, I heard music.
I discovered my future."
so I'll do something like that. Here's an old... some harmonica reels, an old song and a couple of new ones, because I made them up. So they're
all tied together, new. All wrapped together. Beautiful. BarbershopPodcast.com.
So I'll get the boots going here.
Now, most people who play with a halo can't be that aggressive on a harp. Like, how long did it take you to be able to play with that much, those kind of chops, and not be able to use your hands?
I don't know.
You just kind of came? It didn't come all at once. It must have been something that took a while to master.
In fact,
let me
when I started playing. When I started playing the harmonica, I just started playing the guitar, and it was at my grandmother's cottage. And I found this old harmonica. I said, Hero, made in China. It was about this long. And I put it up against the guitar and realized it was a key of C. So I tuned the guitar to it, but I didn't have, a holder. Yeah. Or halo. I've never heard it called a halo before.
That's what I was told it was
So I didn't have one, but I really wanted to try doing that, And but my grandmother had these sliding wooden frame windows with a screen behind them. So I took the harmonica, put it in there, and slammed the window shut on the harmonica, and blew through the screen. I just played anything,
Just reveling and matching the guitar and the harp at the same time.
Yeah, it was just so much fun. So,
well, how many instruments? Name the ones you can remember. How many instruments do you play?
At the same time?
Yeah, no, at the same time. But and you can differentiate between playing and noodling if you want. But how many are you comfortable? How many instruments are you comfortable on?
I play guitar and harmonica. I love doing the boots. Yeah. I love playing drums. I play drums a lot. I played drums in a Dixieland band actually in high school, and I played French horn. I was the principal horn in a Grimsby high school concert band. I was in charge of the French horn section. I love that. I played trumpet in the jazz band. I played timpani, orchestral chimes. I took up the sitar, which I just love. I bought it from Martin Tielli from the Rheostatics. I bought a sitar from Martin. Play the 5-string banjo, sort of, Scruggs style, bluegrass stuff. And I love electric bass. I just love playing the bass. It's so...
it's natural to you.
I love to play.
I find it's one of those things when people are overly melodic, sometimes it's difficult for them to lock into a sweet bass groove, and then other people, they have no problem.
I love playing the bass, and I've played in a few bands on things over the years. I remember sitting down playing with Beatle records and just going, like those beautiful bass lines that Paul played, and fantastic. I always loved Paul McCartney's bass playing. It was just so beautiful.
When you play with the Eggmen, I just really enjoy Bill Dillon when he's playing bass, or he's just even playing those Fender 5s, And
he's got that 6-string bass, which is it's basically a guitar dropped an octave, so it's tuned like this, But yeah, Bill loves the Beatles. So.
Yeah, everyone does. We'll talk about that. It's like, and you've got an Eggmen date coming on at some point in the future. Obviously,
June, something in June.
Something in June. Listen for it, love it. Eggmen, greatest bunch of musicians playing the greatest bunch of music, and this is all the early, awesome black and white Hamburg dirty Beatles. The stuff that you didn't think you'd ever hear in a club, and I just love because you guys are such wonderful musicians, and you don't. I don't think you get together in between shows.
No, there's never a rehearsal.
Never rehearsal. So the saves are always the best part because it's like someone knows it, but someone knows it, and there's no challenge that goes unanswered when wants to do something.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's Christmas every time we play.
Yeah,
it's just so fun.
and it's joy when you get worn and ground down and you've seen it before and you get kind of cynical. You take yourself out and see an Eggman show. I guarantee you're going to love it. 6 Ways to Sunday. Live music, recorded music. We've got them both. We've got a whole bunch of Doug Feaver songs we have to get to. The next one, Lucky Man. What is this song from and what's it about?
Well, this is the old Emerson, Lake and Palmer song. Greg Lake wrote it. I always loved Greg Lake singing, and I loved Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I still do, And this is with Scantily Plaid, and I was we were putting together our first album, and I'm lying in bed one night, and it just hit me. I was like, oh God, that's it! And I had some manuscript paper right beside my bed, so I grabbed a pen and started writing the bagpipes solo. So I thought, instead of the synthesizer, like this 3-octave crazy synth solo, I've got 9 notes on the bagpipes. So I'm going to write a solo for 9 notes. That's something like that. So I wrote it all out. It was just crazy. And I went in the rehearsal the next day and I handed it to our piper. He looked at it and went, "What the hell's this? I can't play this." And I said, "Come on, give it a shot." And he looked at it and so we clarified a couple of things. Because, you know, I don't write pipe music. I can write music.
Apparently you do.
But then he looked at it for a second and thought, "Okay, actually, give me a couple of weeks with it." I said, "Okay." So 2 weeks later, he sat down and said, "I'm ready to try it." And so we did it. It's actually on D small pipes, too, so that chanter is really short, little tiny chanter. And he nailed it. I said, "Oh, that's it. Okay, great. It's going on the album." So we did that. And I had to pay Greg Lake for the permission to do the song. And then I got this email from these people in the States saying, we're in the Greg Lake. We're a bunch of bagpipers who are in the Greg Lake Appreciation Society or something. And we're going to see Greg. Yeah, we're going to New York to see Greg Lake next week. Can you, I want to buy one of your CDs, but would you send me an extra one? I'll take it to Greg. I said, sure. Sent him 2 CDs. He sent me $20 in the mail. And then I got an email 3 weeks later from Greg Lake's people saying, "We heard it, we loved it. Greg thinks it's fabulous." So
wow,
that was pretty fun. And he got $155 out of the deal.
Got $155 out of the deal. Doug Feaver had a little idea in his head how cool something would be. Look where it led. Music can do that. It's fantastic. The great Emerson, Lake and Palmer song, "Lucky Man," done by Scantily Plaid in a way you're guaranteed, unless you're familiar with the song, never to have heard it before, right here, barbershoppodcast.com.
He had white horses and ladies by the score, all dressed in satin and waiting by the door. Ooh, what a lucky man he was. Ooh, what a lucky man he was. White lace and feathers, they made up his bed. A gold-covered mattress on which he was led. Ooh, what a lucky man he was. Ooh, what a lucky man he was. Fight wars for his country and his king, of his honor and his glory, the people would sing. Ooh, what a lucky man he was. Ooh, what a lucky man he was. A bullet had found him, his blood ran as he plied. Nobody could save him, so he lay down and he died. Ooh, what a lucky man he was. Ooh, what a lucky man he was.
That's the great ELP song Lucky Man, done by yours truly, thusly. Doug Feaver and Scantily Plaid. Want to give a great shout out to our sponsor, Shenanigans. Got off the hook. They feed us every week. Normally we have wonderful pizza. Didn't get over there. It was a bit rushed for time. We're going to try to make up for it after the show, but they have great food at Shenanigans. Where's Shenanigans? Well, it's the old DiMaggio's, it's the old Mothers, it's the old Ronnie Jeans if you're a local. If not, it's right across from Delta High School. It's got the big red S. You can't go wrong with Shenanigans. You go there for the food, you stick around for the good times. It's like it used to be in the Hammer in the day. They've got all kinds of great specials going on. Chicken wings, $7 a pound, $11 for 2 pounds. Monday to Saturday, buy one app, get the other one half price. You get pints of Bud for $3.75. Sub $4 pints. What is it, the 90s? I don't know. I don't even think they were that cheap in the 90s. Place is clean. It's nice. The staff is friendly. If your girlfriend likes to dance, take her there on a Friday, Saturday night. They will twist it up there. They love us because we're Hamilton. We're real. And they want to support us. We support them. We love going there. They're great people. They're located at 1305 Main East, corner of Houghton Avenue North in Hamilton, as I said, across from Delta High School. Check them out. If you like darts, if you like pool, if you like the good old days, go check them out at Shenanigans. It's good times. And here we are, Barber Shop Podcast. We're going to give you another handsome helping of Mr. Doug Feaver. Sure to please each and every time. Right here, live, barbershoppodcast.com.
All right, ready for the stand-up one there, boys? Down and shine, Muskoka moon, shine where this rippling water lies. Come on down and shine, Muskoka moon, take my heart and float it on the sky. If I waited for 1,000 years, would you still be waiting here with me? And if I cried about 1,000 tears, would you wash away my misery? There it goes, a cold wind blows, chasing a forgotten thing or two. Will make me feel just a tad more real, brighten up my night the way you do. Come on down and shine, Muskoka moon, shine where this rippling water lies. Come on down and shine, Muskoka moon, take my heart and float it on the sky. Yep. A cold wind blows, chasing a forgotten thing or two. Will make me feel just a tad more real, sharpen up my edge the way you do. Come on down and shine, Muskoka moon, shine where this rippling water lies. Come on down and shine, Muskoka moon, take my heart and float it on the sky. All those times I felt so left behind, you pushed me to the front and let me go. As I battle through the stars tonight, it feels so right, I've got to let you know. Come on down and shine, Muskoka moon, shine where this rippling water lies. Come on down and shine, Muskoka moon, take my heart and float it on the sky. Take my heart and float it on the sky. Take my heart and float it on the sky. Yep, yep.
A handsome slice of Canadiana right there from Doug Feaver. You got to love music with imagery, music with feel. I implore people every week, you need to go out and support live music. There is an incredible depth of music out there. There is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday music. You can go and do good things for yourself and do good things for a community that certainly needs your support. It will soldier on and persevere and prosper regardless. But I tell you this as someone who has lived it and continues to live it, there's nothing like a live music performance to shoot through you. It tickles every sense in your body. It's much more than just the vibrations. It is the entire experience. It's the difference between, I'm not even going to go there. It is something you, I was going to go right in the gutter, you know what, and I'm not. It's been too good. It's been too good a show. It's been fantastic. I'm going to get the last ad out of the way because it's tax season and we want to get that out of the way. You've been sitting there looking at your taxes. If you're a musician like me, you got all these expenses and guitars and amplifiers and stuff, and you got a shoebox full of receipts, and you probably haven't done your taxes in a couple of years. Don't worry, we have the person for you. That's Heather. Heather is Gary's old lady, and she is awesome. She's been doing my taxes for years, and I'm not in jail yet, so obviously she's doing something right. She crosses the T's and dots the I's, and a good friend of mine, Tracy, you know, and she's a great lady. She just got her taxes done at I'm going to call it H&R Scheist, and they charge her $140 and they won't give her return until she comes up with the money, right? And I said, you know, someone like you on disability, you know, your MPP will do it for free. She didn't know that, you know. But if it's like, if you're not, you know, if you don't make less than 16 grand a year, whatever, if you need to get your taxes done because it is for your benefit. Heather is someone who's worked in the music industry. It doesn't care how messy and ugly it is. She will make it right. Get it done. We were talking about taxes done right, 905-529-6435. That's Heather.Sinclair at sourcecable.net. Heather, get yourself a proper email. It's the last week I'm going to tell you that. Get fully prepared professional tax returns, year-round bookkeeping available. She's completely confidential. Won't tell your ex-wife anything. Successfully completed tax preparation courses, abreast of all the changes. We're talking basic tax return, $25. $25. If you get a return with more than $500, it's a 5% fee. And if you mention this show or this studio or you're a client or a friend, there's an extra little discount in it to the tune of $5 or 1% off of that price. So, I mean, you'd be silly not to. Get it done right. Taxes done right. 905-529-6435. Doug Feaver is in the studio tonight. This is our sesquicentennial episode. I usually am the one who knows how to say stuff, right? Sesquicentennial. This was our 125th episode tonight. It couldn't be a better guest. Doug Feaver with a plethora of music, both live and recorded. We're going to launch into another one of your recordings, okay? Ride the Wild Horses. Now.
Yeah. A song we're recording our second album for Scantily Plaid a couple of years ago, and we needed another vocal from me, so this is the one. So it's a song I wrote out in Winnipeg after I'd met I was playing this hotel actually with
Osborne Village Hotel.
No, it's what was it called? That was a great place. Oh my God, the name of it. It'll come to me. I stayed there for a week and a half. Lived upstairs, and it was a fabulous place. They'd got some grant money to sort of refurbish the place, take it back to like its 1900 splendor.
So it was a hotel, not a hotel.
It was a hotel.
Okay.
But they had a hotel in it as well.
Yes.
So I was playing there for a week, and then we actually out there with Glenn Marshall and those guys.
Oh, we love Glenn
Marshall.
Marshall
Out there as well.
Altogether Morris.
Altogether Morris.
Love you, Glenn Marshall.
So we were out there, and I was playing my solo stuff for an hour and a half, and then we do 80 minutes of their stuff with me on drums. So it was kind of handy as we all rode in the one van. But they gave us these rooms up on the third floor, and you saw, as soon as you got, we're walking to all these guitars, so where's the elevator? They said, it doesn't work. But looking at the lobby was beautiful. The carpet and the chandelier was lovely. stairs are there. Open the door. I was like, oh, this is where they stopped spending the money. And there's holes in this old lath and plaster, and you can see where there'd been a fire, you know, and all these charred, you know,
get their money at the counter.
And we got up to the top, and I got to my room and opened it, and it looked like it hadn't been touched since 1910. You know, it was beautiful, really. I mean, I loved the bed was this old squeaky thing. There was a sink in the corner, which was actually quite useful. And then the best thing of all was the fire escape, which was I was on the 3rd floor, but it was 3 big floors. It was up there, about 35, 40 feet up in the air. And throw open the window, and oh, it's a parking lot down there. The fire escape was 4 huge bolts through a piece of metal on the wall. With a rope. Remember the ropes you used to climb in school?
Style, yes.
This huge rope, like that big around with a knot on the end. And that was a fire escape. Oh, it was fabulous. Throw the rope out there. I was up and down that thing all the time. Every day I was
only
climbing
for
up and
musicians,
down.
right?
Oh,
So everyone
fabulous.
else had stairs, but the musicians' rooms get the rope.
That's it. Except, well, there were 2 other people on the floor, 2 women, fancy dressers, a lot of perfume, I remember, very short skirts, a lot of different friends in and out, sort of all night. And didn't see them much during the day, but at night they'd sort of be in and out with people. And there was this old guy. We had to share a bathroom on the floor. So I go to the bathroom, and there'd be this old man lying in the bathtub, asleep. This old grubby old guy in an old trench coat lying there asleep, boots on. And so I'd be like, it's kind of uncomfortable. I have the toilet's right here. And it's like, you know, it's like, so the sink in my room came in really handy.
handy.
But you never see the guy during the day. During the day, it'd be like, bathroom's empty, he's gone. Never saw the guy awake, never saw him move. But I'd get up there at night after we'd done playing, and he'd be lying there in the tub.
You probably never paid a dime rent in that place. You
No.
snuck in and slept for free each and every night.
It was great.
It's so how does that got anything to do with...
Well, I wrote the song in my room one night, and I liked it so much, I thought, I'm going to sing it tomorrow night. And I went down, and I played it. And at the end of my set, this guy, a native guy, comes up and says, hey, I want to buy you a beer, white man. I like that song that you wrote about me and my brother. What song is that? He says, the one about the wild horses, huh? I'm like, really? Okay, I sat down. He bought me a beer, and he tells me the story about him and his brother. And I thought, well, isn't that nice? I'm finally meeting the guy I wrote the song about yesterday, you know. So he turned out, he was a great guy. Yeah. And at the end of the night, we did what you can do in Manitoba. You can't do it here yet, but they should change that.
Yeah,
we got 12 off sales to go.
Yeah.
And I went and stood with him and about 4 or 5 of his buddies, and we stood in this alley in the north end of Winnipeg with a little, you know, these 12 beers, and passed the beers around and passed a couple other things around, and we stood up there just talking until dawn. And then I went and climbed up my rope and went to bed.
Wow.
So this is,
This is it. This is it. This is a true story. This is a true song. Some great people, beautiful little slice of Canadiana, and it's all boiled down to that perfect jam right here at barbershoppodcast.com.
I took a train into the city, and it was darker than I thought. As I walked around the city, had no fear of getting caught, with no friends or one to know me. I was free as any man, no future that could own me, and no past to tie my hands. Who knows it better than who remains reckless and chases those rainbows you've dreamed? Coming think of it only gets harder for you, and it's not like it seemed. Cut 'em loose, it's you with the latchkey. Cut 'em loose, I took a train back to the country, and I walked across the land. When I heard that whistle blowing, felt that ticket in my hand. When I think about the city, well, it brought me things I know. Well, you can keep it in the city, and you can leave it when you go. Who knows it better than who remains reckless and chases those rainbows you've dreamed? Coming to think of it only gets harder for you, and it's not like it seemed. Cut 'em loose, it's you with the latchkey. Cut 'em loose and let 'em run free. Cut 'em loose and burn all your saddles and your reins, and ride the wild horses with me. Ride the wild horses with me. Ride the wild horses with me. Ride the wild horses with me.
Ride the Wild Horses. True story, Winnipeg, Canada. We're in Hamilton, Ontario. Something about the music here, it's reflective and evocative and as honest and as real as any music you'll find anywhere. When you talk about a world-class musical city, I am a true believer that Hamilton is certainly right up there in one of those. And I have to say this, I went out on the porch for a little breath of air during that song, because we do go live, and I thought I'd go through the mailbox because I've been gone for a day, and lo and behold, there was a little brown envelope from the government of Canada, and I neglected to get around to my taxes in 2013, so I did both of them together, and there's a check for $360.22 with my name on it. And it's a nice thing when you open up the mail and there's not one bill, but in fact there's a check with your name on it for $360.22, and it cost me $25 because I got my taxes done at Taxes Done Right. Do it. Get yourself a check in the mail. You'll love it. You know what feels almost as good as a $360 check in the mail? Some Doug Feaver live from Boxo Studio. We've had it all night. We're going to continue to have it until the end of this show. We're going to give you a little bit more of it right now. It doesn't get any better than this. Doug Feaver at barbershoppodcast.com.
Summer's gently fading, leaves are falling fast. I'm pulling out my winter clothes, thinking about the past. You know, I could have been a doctor, I could have worn a better pair of shoes. But I can't make up for lost time, and there's no time left to lose. I sorted my belongings, I had them laid out on the floor. Tickets to some places that I can't visit anymore. I burned the bags of old price tags, and Lord knows I paid some dues. But I can't make up for lost time, and there's no time left to lose. No time left to lose. I take my tea and wonder if time is on my side. I've seen a few go under, some go just for the ride. Well, I can't wait, it's getting late and I'm looking for my shoes. But I can't make up for lost time, there's no time left to lose. I can't make up for lost time, there's no time left to lose. No time to lose, no time to lose, no time to lose.
No Time to Lose, something from Doug Feaver live. Standing up, sitting down. We do it each and every way here at Barber Shop Podcast. It is a plethora of excitement. We are delivering to you the truth in the way of 3, 4, 5 chords and a song. Songs often come from places of inspiration. They come from the conscience. They come from the daily grind. They come from the dark places. They come from inspiration. Music is important. It's far more important than a vehicle to sell a product or to fill the background. With noise, it is something that is as important as air and water and bread. And quite often we forget that. It's so prevalent. It is there all the time, and we take it for granted. And unfortunately, there are those who take advantage of it. But for every person who takes advantage of it, there's 10 people who do it because they love it, because they need to do it. And they provide sustenance for us in the way of the truth and in a beautiful fashion. Thrilled to have a great example of that tonight in Doug Feaver. He's in here playing music from his career and some of the different outfits and groups. He's one of the great performers. And I want to ask you about that. You put on a show. There's a big difference between playing music and putting on a show, being a musician and being a performer. You are clearly a performer. Were you always an extrovert? Was this always part of it? Or were you consciously able to kind of pull that out of your performance over the years?
I don't know, it's extroversion. It's sort of, it just kind of happens, really. Sometimes I think introverts can be pseudo-extroverts, and that's really what it is, I think, in my case. Because, I keep to, I'm a pretty private person, really. But you get out on stage and something happens. You've got to do something, as the, mach schau, as the Beatles used to say. Get out there and make a show. Yeah.
And there's a certain spirituality to it that if it doesn't come from the right place, it's pretty easily identifiable, right?
Absolutely right. I mean, the place I used to tell, I remember my first band and hitting the road and a little trouble once in a while with one of the members of the band. And I said, look, man, the stage is a sacred place. Now, we don't have to be out, it doesn't have to be dreary or drab. But it's a sacred place. And there are lines that you don't cross. And you're about to cross one, so don't do it.
Yeah.
And so we would have long discussions about this, actually, in the truck, driving from gig to gig, because, there are a lot of trees in between gigs in Northern Ontario. So, and I had no radio in my truck. So we'd have everything in a trailer behind the truck, and all the guitars and us in the truck.
A lot of conversation.
So we had time to converse, we had time to talk and sing and work out what it was that we were doing. And it was fabulous, all over Northern Ontario and Quebec, and in Southern Ontario as well. We had everything from Sarnia and Windsor to Sioux Lookout, Atikokan and Kenora, to Val d'Or, Quebec, Val d'Isère, Rouyn-Noranda, Kirkland Lake, Timmins, everything in between.
And that's like, I work for Nielsen Media. I work for the people who did the TV ratings, and we would have homes that would be on the ratings up in Marathon and Gold River and and so I know how far it is. You go to a stoplight and your body's still moving. Like you start, it's hard. It's hard to actually acclimate yourself to not just that constant driving. There's a lot of distance between gigs.
There is. And I remember coming home after we'd be on the road for 10, 12 weeks at a time, and then I'd book a week and a half off at home, and then I'd book a 3-nighter at the Grimsby Tavern or something that's now called Teddy's. But I guess that's already, you can call it Teddy. It's okay, Ted. You can call it Teddy's if you want. But we're still going to call it the Grimsby House.
Yes,
but,
forever and
But
ever.
I'd book Thursday to Saturday at the Grimsby House, and then in the meantime, I'd have another 6 or 8 or 10 weeks booked, everywhere else. So we'd go to, we'd go to the south and go down to Wallaceburg, Chatham, Windsor, Sarnia, Petrolia, any place.
Just great names.
And then back, have a week off, and then a half week off, play a 3-night, and then back to Rouen, Quebec, or wherever.
Fantastic.
Oh, I loved it.
It's great. What year did you go? What did you go to Grimsby High School? What years were you there?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay, we're not going to get into that, but I'm asking because my dad was a teacher there. I was born at Grimsby.
Yeah.
He was a teacher there.
Teach math?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
You know him? Andy?
Barber.
Yeah.
Andy Barber. He's
Yeah.
a friend of my dad's. Actually.
Really? This is fantastic. Now it makes sense, right?
There we go. Andy Barber.
He was a teacher for like 2 years and then he couldn't hack it. My dad's a lot like me,
Did he work at Procter & Gamble
Yes,
as well?
he did.
Yeah, because that's where he worked with my dad at Procter & Gamble.
That's fantastic. I had to
Andy
ask you
Barber.
that. I had the feeling. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is.
The world gets...
It's smaller and smaller and smaller.
Still wouldn't want to paint it,
No.
but it's getting tiny.
Right here, got tiny. He lives on Vancouver Island now.
Wow.
Yeah, and here it is. It's just like the 7 degrees of Kevin Barber.
That's crazy.
Screw Kevin
Andy
Bacon.
Barber, amazing.
Yeah, I just thought maybe, you know what? I imagine that you were there at the right time. And that's great. I didn't know that your dad worked with my dad.
Yeah, your dad taught math, and then he worked with my dad. I remember he was a math teacher, and then I remember he left, and I was a math guy. I was a math and sciences guy. And my dad was chemistry and physics. And yeah, it was cool.
That is cool.
And yeah, your dad was over at our house for dinner.
That's great. You believe that, Ryan Cannon? Right here
crazy.
at Barber Shop Podcast. We just had one of those magic moments.
That's hilarious.
That's
It's
fucking
magic
nuts.
moment.
Knocking futz right here.
It's magic moment.
Oh, what could have been a brutal, terrible night turned into something just magical and beautiful because of just a little couple beers and a
Little bit
couple
of
tunes.
serendipity.
A little serendipity right here. Well, I want to get back to the good stuff. We're going to go to another tune that you've got recorded, Carol of the Bells.
Okay, now this is an album. I did this with Ruth Sutherland a couple of years ago, and I produced it. It's her record. It's her Christmas record, and we have both recorded a pile of Christmas songs. Ruth wanted to complete an album, so she hired me to be producer, and so I came up with a number of new suggestions. I'd produced the original recordings that we already had going. We did a bunch more, and I came in. I called her one day and I said, "I've got this idea for Carol of the Bells. I really want to do it." And she knew the song, but she thought, "Well, what are you going to do with it?" And I said, "Well, we'd done the Huron Carol. I played." Which is actually really fun. You could even play that one. It was me on everything. I'm playing everything, and then Ruth's singing. But it's electric guitar, screaming, feedback. It sounds like a war. Now, I don't know if you've read The Orenda, Joseph Boyden's book. It was, Canada Reads, he won Canada Reads last year. I did. And it was just like, it's just incredible. It's this thing about the Hurons and the Mohawks fighting, and it's brutal. But what we were trying to get across in the Huron Carol was that brutality and that madness with these angelic voices and a circle dance rhythm. It's like a 3/4 time rhythm. And so we did that. I almost think you should play that one instead.
Yeah, let's do that. Can you dig that up, Gare?
It's me and a pile of guitars, and
Huron, what's it?
This is called actually the Huron Carol, and the cool thing is that Ruth and I got gigs playing at Ste. Marie among the Hurons, and she's playing in this. It's actually a Catholic church at Ste. Marie, and buried in the corner is Jean Brebeuf, the guy who wrote the Huron Carol in 1734. Is buried right there in the church, in the ground, in this rustic wooden little church. Ruth is singing there, and it was just chilling.
Wow.
I'm playing in a different building, doing some other things, but it was fantastic. But I had this. This is my Gretsch guitar screaming. The first track was.
I don't think we can we rip that off the internet in time during live TV, Ryan.
There's no video of it.
No.
We have it lined up in the CD.
We have it lined up. See, look at that.
Yeah,
we got it ready to go.
lined up, so
These guys are awesome. So
it's me on guitars, and I'm on everything.
Yeah.
I'm playing all the instruments and orchestrated the vocals.
So here you go. A little slab of awesomeness here at barbershoppodcast.com.
In the moon of winter time, when all the birds had fled, that mighty kitchen Manitou sent angel choirs instead. Before their light the stars grew dim, and wandering hunters heard the hymn. Jesus, your King is born. Jesus is born. Jesus, was in a lodge of broken bark, the tender babe was found. A ragged robe of rabbit skin and wrapped his beauty round. And as the mighty breeze drew nigh, the angel's song rang loud and high. Jesus, your King is born. Jesus is born. Jesus, our children of the forest free, ye sons of Manitou, the holy child of earth and heaven is born today. Jesus, your King is born. Jesus is born. Jesus Jesus,
I can feel it. I can see the mist rising off the lake as the moon slowly sets. There's nothing like something that good. Here we are, Barber Shop Podcast. Doug Feaver is our guest tonight. That's some Huron Carol. It's something you can get a hold of if you look just a little. And if you want to enjoy music, original music, pure music, good music, tune in here every Wednesday night at twitch.tv/podcastbarber. Check us out at our archives at barbershoppodcast.com. We're on YouTube. We're on iTunes. We're on Stitcher Radio. We try to get out every corner of the world that we can. We got one final live song from Doug Feaver before we say goodnight. And it's been my pleasure to present someone of his caliber. And here's one more from Mr. Doug Feaver at barbershoppodcast.com.
This song is all about musicians and farmers. Last of the true anarchists. Pushing behind, but somehow things they get to going so fast. It's enough to build the pay for the day just passed. But when it all comes down, a little's gonna mean a lot for my friends and I who didn't get caught. A little's gonna mean a lot for my friends and I who didn't get bought. A little's gonna mean a lot. Away, but now it's just out there. This hanging around just doesn't go nowhere. Does anybody know what's really going on? Well, I'm not catching a ride and baby, I'll be gone. But when it all comes down, a little's gonna mean a lot for my friends and I who didn't get caught. A little's gonna mean a lot for my friends and I who didn't get bought. A little's gonna mean a lot in our little town. Our little town. A little's gonna mean a lot in our little town. Harmonica just died. Oh, I never heard that note before. Oh well. I know a guy who's got a bag of tricks.
He wants to build a forest from a pile of sticks. To make his sticks, he's taking good trees down. And go back to Toronto and get out of our town. Cause when it all comes down, a little's gonna mean a lot. Both my friends and I who didn't get caught. A little's gonna mean a lot. Both my friends and I who didn't get bought. A little's gonna mean a lot in our little town. Cause when it all comes down, a little's gonna mean a lot. Both my friends and I who didn't get caught. A little's gonna mean a lot. Both my friends and I who didn't get bought. A little's gonna mean a lot in our little town. It's our little town. A little's gonna mean a lot in our little town. It's our little town. It's our little town. It's our little town.
What a beautiful job when the reeds collapse and you've got no air. He made it happen. You got to understand, when you've got reeds inside of harmonica, which are a series of wooden slats inside of a steel chamber that are soaked with spit and have a certain age and lifespan, I guess it just kind of seized up like an old transaxle or something like that, didn't it?
That's $50.
$50. And it used to be the harmonica always was the price of a case of beer. I always thought, like, when beer was $16, you could buy a harp for $16. When a case of beer was $25, you could buy a harp for $25.
Yeah.
And now the harps have got more expensive. Yeah, it's broken that
It's expensive beer.
it is, you know. You got to get the imported stuff to pay the $50. But trust me, you can spend $50 on a case of beer or harmonica. If you're not an instrumental person, you know what, and you live alone, this is important. Learn the harmonica. It's a great instrument to start out on. Don't take it out on your family, though.
You live alone.
Don't take it out on your family. What a great night. Barber Shop Podcast came back, episode number 125, with Mr. Doug Feaver in the house. Found out that my dad ate in his dining room. Wow. And this is such a great song, you're going to want to hear it twice. King of rock and roll.
That sounds like a euphemism.
It is.
He ate.
That's right.
He
It's
ate
my song.
dad's
I wrote
dining
it.
room. No, the dining room line.
Oh, the dining room one, yes. And I'm thinking about the Star Wars China, too, because my mom got this China at the time, which they call Atomic. The design style now is called Atomic, and my sister and I call it the Star Wars China, and it was all hideous and nobody wanted it. Apparently it's all the rage now, because this was Sputnik. This was the era of when the things were exciting. I remember my house very well at 16 McNabb Drive, Grimsby, Ontario. Always reminded me of Neil Young. You look out our back door and look at the escarpment, and there was a little shack on the top of the escarpment, even as a little kid. I imagine peach tree in the front yard, 3 cherry trees in the backyard. You knew your neighbor's name. And it happened to be Dick Cohey, who played for the Hamilton Tiger Cats and had wicked
Cohey,
parties.
I remember him.
Yeah. He was our wicked neighbor.
Cohey. Oh, wow. You know Nancy Kennedy and Kathy
Yes.
Kennedy and
Yeah, the Kennedys.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all coming. We're going to have to shed some stories here about Grimsby, just on the outskirts of Hamilton, Ontario. They are welcomed into our family. If you're from Grimsby, you're from the cloth. You're cut from the cloth, the good stuff. Barbershop Podcast, each and every week. Not even sure who's on next week, but I guarantee you it's great. We're booked up till June, I think.
Perfect.
I'm not sure. It's a lovely thing. You got to check it out every week. If you like the show, tell your friends, okay? Like it, share it.
I think I'm going to go and have.
I think you're gonna go.
Going to go and have a look. Definitely.
Yeah, there's like I said, 125. We've had a couple doubles, but that's a lot of people. And about 98% Hamilton. We've had to start.
Fun.
Yeah, we've let some Burlingtonites in as long as they have some sort of Hamilton. It's like a CanCon thing, right? As
Right.
long as they can have 1 foot in Steel City, it's all right. We love y'all. Barbershop Podcast. Thanks for coming out. We'll see you next week.